Hey, thanks for joining. You did it. Nice job. Introducing our project management trainer, speaker, author, and coach to thousands of professionals and organizations worldwide, including NASA, the U.S. Air Force, USACE, U.S. Army, the Department of Transportation, the FBI. Your friend, Phil. Over to you, Phil.
What's up, folks? How you doing? Your friend Phil here, project management trainer and coach. Thanks for joining for another episode of Project Management Night School under my Project Management Basics umbrella. Those of you who are project managers seeking to know a little bit more about project management, you've probably heard of this standard right here called the PMBOK guide. Well, the main purpose of these series of tutorials is to take you through how to use what is in the PMBOK guide in a pragmatic fashion. They're going to be very quick, straight to the point videos. We're not going to go into the dregs of getting ready for the PMI exams, but along the way, I'll be clearing up any of the muddy waters regarding what exactly you do in the various aspects of project management. Now, you know there are 49 processes currently in this 6th edition. Now, that could change in other editions. But what I'm going to do is extract the basics, the essence of project management so that it becomes relevant to anyone, anywhere, whether it's the 7th, 8th, or 9th edition. The stuff that I'm teaching you is still going to be relevant for many more years to come because it's based on organic project management principles, common sense principles that have been around for a long time. When you really boil it down and you think about it, like in my other videos, I explain that project management has been around for eons. It's been around for a very long time, but we just didn't call it project management. Like way back in time, 2560 BC, project management was really around. Because when you think about what project management is, it's the application of knowledge and skills and abilities and tools and techniques and principles and all sorts of knowledge to get to the point where you deliver a product, a service, or a result that the customer or the sponsor wants. Be it one of the pyramids, the great pyramids of Giza, whether it's that's a deliverable. How do you think it got done? Project management. Take a look at the Transcontinental Railroad project. No one mentioned the term project management back then, but that's what it was. Seriously, the guy behind it, Theodore Judah, he provided a very succinct plan, but yet very calculated plan for how this would happen. So when Lincoln signed the act, he knew what he was doing. You know, the team, the teamsters, the cooks, the surveyors, the engineers, that's a project team. So this stuff has been around for a long time. So when PMI came on the scene back in 1969, project management had been around. It had been around for a long time. So take a look behind me. I have got the CDC website. It's right there on the screen. If you look up there, you can see that I've actually chatted in the link for you guys, those of you who are new to the program and you're not aware of the CDC. Well, they've got a brilliant website with tons of templates, tons of tools. And some of these tools are what I'm taking out to underscore the basics of project management. Of course, documented in the PMBOK guide very nicely, but we have these things in a very pragmatic fashion on the CDC website. Hyperlink, the hot link is tiny.cc/Sigma PMO. But I put all that stuff up there, put the long link, and you can refer to that. So welcome to Project Management Basics. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Phil. I've been a project manager for going to 2 decades now, training project management as well since I got certified as a PMP. And before that, I actually started training off Microsoft Project. So when I hear people say project is from the pit of hell, it's horrible. I laugh because that's actually what I started with. And like anything else, if you don't apply the 80-20 rule, you run into trouble. What do I mean? If you're trying to do the entire kitchen sink of MS Project, you will fail. You will, especially if you are new to MS Project. You need to adapt MS Project to your project. The same thing with this. People say, oh, PMBOK guide is a waste of time. How can you just write off thousands of people's work and efforts, including mine? I take it personal. I take offense because I ain't wasting my time when I'm reviewing the PMBOK guide and giving feedback to the PMI, what I think could be done better, should be in there. So we got to respect the work of our peers, all right? So again, the PMBOK guide, we need to apply the 80-20 principle or the 80-20 rule. 20% of the guide applied the right way to your project could give you a massive payoff. But if you're trying to do the 80% that doesn't matter, you're only going to get a 20% payoff, a 20% return. That's how Pareto's law works, and it's true. Think about it. 20% of your revenues are from 80% of those customers, but 80% of your revenues are from 20% of your key customers. It's Pareto's law, Pareto's principle, the 80-20 principle, the 80-20 rule. So I'm saying all of this so that when you apply the PMBOK guide, you don't get sidetracked, okay? Don't try to do the entire thing. So anyway, those are my credentials behind, trained a lot of firms in this stuff. And those of you who are in the world of the PMP exam, well, go to pmsucceed.com and sign up for training that's coming up in November, and it's going to be running all through the year, all right? So let's talk about the 5 process groups of project management. We've talked about this before. There are 5 process groups of project management. Initiating, it's like on your marks, set. Initiating is the go. Boom, off to the races. You begin to put all the information together at a high level. You get the formal authorization on paper or electronically. And then you move into planning, where you're planning out all the details of the project from various perspectives. And then you go into executing, where you're actually doing. That is the doing part, that you actually get your deliverable. And then monitoring and controlling is overarching. It's happening all the time. Right from the get-go, you need to be monitoring and controlling, trying to improve what you're doing. If you're not doing a good job in any of the knowledge areas, what do? You improve. You get back into alignment, or you change the plan. And last but not least, we've got closing out the project. So those are the 5 process groups. And of course, this page depends on the edition you're looking at, but this is based on the 6th edition, and we talk about the 49 processes broken down into 5 process groups I just covered, but then you've got these knowledge areas at the side, and these knowledge areas are just areas of knowledge, areas of specialization, if you will, that in the real world we could have separate people from the project manager who are great in that. In other organizations I've been in, I've had WBS experts, WBS dictionary experts, people who know the details of the work and can develop the WBS dictionary, can help in facilitating the WBS development. We've got scheduling experts, cost experts, quality experts. What do you think Six Sigma folks are? Resource management experts, people who might be human resource management specific, like David, one of the folks that I interviewed on this channel. He's also in the world of HR. Communications experts. Previous company that I worked with, we had a communications expert that was responsible for sending out all manner of communications. So what am I trying to say? Be it risk, procurement, or even the area of stakeholder management and the softy side of project management, the soft skills. We've got people, experts, who could readily fill those areas. But the one area that the project manager is responsible for is right here at the top, okay? This is the knowledge area that the expert is the project manager. You get what I'm saying? You could have a risk expert, a cost expert, a procurement expert. But when we talk about the project management expert, they are responsible for putting it all together, holding the entire project, moving it along in a cohesive whole. That's why the project manager, as it were, is leading without authority and wearing a plethora of hats. So that is what this integration knowledge area is all about. And that's where we're starting from. Tonight, we're going to talk about the very first knowledge area, but not just that, the very first process within the first knowledge area. It's called Develop Project Charter. So develop project charter is done with an initiating, of course, to give the project manager and the team and the sponsor a very good footing to run the project. Okay? So that's the main goal. A lot of people say, oh, I've not been authorized to develop a charter. What are you waiting for? This is something you should do. Even if someone says, I forbid you from developing a charter, just shake your head, because you know that in your affiliations with the PMI, it makes sense to do what is for the project's good, for the company's good. And I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, project managers trying to lead teams, manage teams, and they don't have a charter, they're doing it wrong. You don't need to wait from authorization from on high to develop a charter. This is what you should do to put everyone on the same page, to put everyone on the same playing field, to enable them understand why you are running the project, why you are the project manager. So this is a rather important aspect, the initiating aspect. Develop project charter, as you can see here, it states authorizing the project with a project charter. That is really what you're trying to do here. Now, who works on the project charter? You do. You could. In other companies, it could be a person external to the project, a senior manager. But these days, people understand that in order for a charter to really begin to do what it should be constructed to do, we need to call in the project manager managing the project to begin to take ownership, to begin to identify, to begin to map the strategic business objectives to what is being done. Why are we doing this? So in the previous episode, I talked about the business case. If you haven't watched that, you might want to, because that is a precursor to this process, develop project charter. So if you take a look at the screen here, this document, the project charter, is authorization. It's your high-level scope, your high-level deliverable description, your high-level milestone schedule, your high-level risks, and so on. And we could get very granular and detailed about what this document is meant to do. Some organizations make it a big old dog and pony show, and it turns into what it shouldn't. It turns into being a plan, and this is not a plan. This is meant to be a high-level lay of the land to enable people see at a snapshot, without going into la-la land of loopiness. This is what the project is all about. High level. If you're going into too many pages, trust me, you're going to lose people. Some of the best charters I've seen and some of the charters my clients gravitate towards are those that are 1 pages, 2 pages. You need to have heard the squeals of delight when I trained this to a company out of Georgia. And they had seen the big old dog and pony project charter, but when I showed them the 1-pager, 2-pager, squeals of delight echoed across the room. They felt liberated. They felt they'd received the permission to make the charter as brief as possible, and that's okay. Your charter does not have to be an enormous document. If your project is very complex, such as some projects I've worked on, a large charter, and when I say large, I'm talking about 20 pages up, may be justified. But if you're working on something that people could get in just 1 or 2 pages, why take them down that alley? All right. Now, what I'm showing you tonight is going to be multiple pages, but that doesn't mean you cannot whittle it down. Customize your documents to your team. A lot of teams, a lot of IT teams, they are immediately turned off by project managers who say, oh, we're going to work on a 20-page charter. Oh, we're going to work on a 30-page schedule. And people are just immediately deflated by such statements. So you got to know your team and who you're working with. But anyway, as you see on the screen, we have the details regarding the project charter. The project charter authorizes the project. The project charter gives the project manager authority to apply resources to the project as well. That is one of the key things about the project charter. It's authorization for the project, it's authorization for the project manager, puts the team on the same page with the project manager and the project sponsor, and it's just an all-round great document. So for those folks who want to know a little bit more, maybe they are getting ready for the exam, the PMP exam, like I said, you might want to go to this website on the screen, because we go a lot deeper than what I am talking about. We go into the depth of the book to get people ready for the PMP or CAPM exam, okay? So now I've explained to you what the project charter is at a high level. Why don't we take a look at a few pragmatic examples? I'm going to show you an example or two of the project charter. So why don't I start off by showing you the CDC's project charter. As you can see behind me, this is a version of their project charter. And it just says CDC Project Charter Template Light. Light means it's not as deep and detailed as the other one. And that one, you can find it in the link. Just go to the link above and you'll be able to get the extended charter version. But my goal here is to really show you the top of the waves regarding the charter. So let's look at a few details in this document here. It says this document is a template for a project charter. Document for a project. The template includes instructions and so on and so forth. So if you're new to it, you can get instructions right there in the document. They did a great job of that, in my opinion. And then it's showing you the differences between what I mentioned, the full version of the project charter, and the light version of the project charter. So you can see, if we go down here one more time, major differences are the full template has got the purpose of the charter, the justification, the business need. You know, this is a CDC, so they've got a little bit about the public health or business impact, but in your company that could be different. But in the light version, it's short and sweet. They've got scope, objectives, high-level requirements, major milestones, duration or the timeline, the budget estimates, the funding source, and an overall estimate there. So again, these are the contents of what could be in the charter from a pragmatic standpoint. Scope, the objectives of the project, the high-level requirements, major deliverable milestones, and then timeline. Not going into too much detail, it could be a graphical timeline. And then the budget, high level, what's the funding source, and estimate. Now let's go to estimate just to find out what this is. It says this provides a summary of estimated spending to meet the objectives of the project. This summary of spending is preliminary and should reflect costs for the entire investment lifecycle. It is intended to present probable funding requirements and to assist in obtaining budgeting support. So when you think about project management as it relates to cost, one of the things you should do in the project charter at a high level is break down spending by quarter or however you see fit for the project. It could be Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, 1 million a piece. Total budget is 4 million. Quarterly spending is $1 million a piece, or whatever it looks like. And this gives people an idea, management to be precise, an idea of what the funding for the project would be. So the charter could be a very short and sweet document, very short and sweet. Let me show you an example here. This was developed by my team, so now you can see something that has a little bit of information in it. And like I always say, just tailor it to your project. This is not a hard and fast rule. Your charter must look like this. No, it could be tailored, okay? So we've got the purpose. In this case, you can see we included the business case. It's got a project description at some level in there. And then we've got the time, the duration, the cost, what the cost is, what is the initial budget, quality concerns, and then one of the items you have in your project charter is this key stakeholder list. This is not a register of stakeholders, but it is a list of stakeholders on the project. You see? Their role, other information. We've got some high-level risks, initial risks in here, project objectives, success criteria, which is very important. How do we know the project is a success? That should also be in there. The person approving should also be in there. So how do we know we've met scope? How do we know we've met time? How do we know we've met cost requirements? How do we know we've met quality requirements? So on and so forth. Information about budget management. It says budget costs not to exceed this amount. Budget will be managed by the PM. The maximum variance of the project is plus or minus 10%. So things such as that at a high level can be put in there so the project manager has some frame of reference to effectively manage the project. Escalation path, project manager authority level, staffing decisions, budget management and variance, like I said, and things such as that, you know. So this is a very short and sweet charter, 3 pages long, and you can see the amount of detail that you could get into 3 pages. Typically, you would have a signature on this. Some companies choose not to go that far, but I think ownership through a signature on the charter goes a long way. So the project sponsor could sign it. See? Project manager could sign it. You could have multiple PMs on a project. Anyone involved, sign it. All right, so this is, it's a dummy charter that's been put together by my team. And for those of you getting ready for the exam, one of the reasons why I tell people come on our course for the professional exams is because in our study manual, and I mean, this is not a bad manual. It's only that the only way to get it is to sign up for our PMP exam training. But in this manual, we have examples of every one of those core plans and documents that are talked about in this book. So, I mean, this is great. It's got some really great information. But then we go to the next level by including some of those templates that I show you. We actually have, as you can see right there, we actually have examples of some of these. See, that right there is a change log. So we have pragmatic examples of a lot of the stuff talked about there. And these are some of the examples that you also have on the website above. Okay, so that website is gold. I talked about this on a previous episode when one of my students became a PMP, was told to set up a PMO, and got hold of that link. Rockstar. See, that could be your hidden weapon. Your hidden weapon against failure for you to succeed in your department. Things like that. Knowing where to get templates and, of course, knowing how to customize the templates. It could go a long way in helping you. So if you take a look above there, you see that link, copy that link, save that link. I tell you, that link works wonders. CDC, hats off to you. So, folks, that is it. That is the second episode within my Project Management Night School series, which will roll up under my Project Management Basics curriculum. As usual, if you have any questions, concerns, comments about project management that you would like me to tackle, you know, that's the purpose of the channel. That's why I come on here to answer questions. So let's take a look to round this off. We're going to take a look in the PMBOK guide. I call it the mothership. We're going to go to the mothership and take a look at what the PMI say is inside this document. It's talked about on page 81. Really quickly, it says, the project charter is the document issued by the initiator, project initiator, or sponsor. An initiator is one who does what? Initiates, right? One who kicks off the thing. Or the sponsor that formally authorizes the existence of a project. You know, some folks, they get this question wrong on professional exams because they totally blow past the term initiator, or they totally blow past the phrase, you know, someone external to the project. But anyway, it says here that formally authorizes the existence of a project and provides the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities. It documents the high-level information. You see that high-level information. We don't want to get loopy. We don't want to get crazy. We don't want to scare anyone. We want to keep it at high-level information on the project, high information about the product, service, or result, high-level information. And some of these examples talked about on page 81, project purpose, measurable project objectives, and related success criteria, high-level requirements, high-level project description, boundaries, key deliverables, overall project risk. So when we talk about overall project risk, again, it's high level, it's overall. Overall risks, what could impede the project at a high level? What could totally shut down the entire project? We're not talking about tiny little risks, we're talking about overall project risks. Summary milestone schedule, pre-approved financial resources, key stakeholder list. Project approval requirements, what constitutes project success? Project exit criteria. What conditions should be met in order to close or cancel the project? Assign project manager, name an authority or sponsor or other persons authorizing the project charter. So you saw on that little page there, we had 2 blocks, 2 columns. There could be multiple people involved in authorizing the charter. It says, at a high level, the project charter ensures, this is priceless, a common understanding by, does it say by the project manager? No. Does it say a common understanding by the sponsor? No. Common understanding by the stakeholders. Everyone should be exposed to the charter. If possible, you as the project manager, after working with your sponsor on this thing, you need to communicate it to your stakeholders. You saw the example I showed you had a stakeholder list. Those people, you begin to share the vision, you begin to explain. That is a way you can begin to get buy-in. So this is a way the project manager can lead, can be proactive. Some people are totally clueless about projects in the firm that are going to affect their lives in a massive way. Well, it becomes the job of the project manager to say, hey, this is like a memo, this is like a bulletin board that I can begin to share with people that the project affects. You see, a lot of projects receive a lot of resistance from stakeholders. Why? Because the project charter is non-existent, and even if that's not the case, it is not being shared with stakeholders early enough. Can you imagine the horror of a departmental manager realizing that a new system to be implemented is going to put his team out of work, or is going to put All right, so as I was saying, unfortunately, our volume seemed to vanish all of a sudden. So it is possible that a lot of the things I was saying just vanished, went into thin air. I do apologize, that was not my intent. So I will have to take a look at the video and see where what I was saying vanished, disappeared, and I'll do my best to catch up on those items, probably in a future video if need be. But that's pretty much all that I had for tonight. It was pretty much all about the charter. It was pretty much all about initiating. So hold on a second. I'm going to take a quick peek at where you may have lost me. And that is entirely my doing, my fault. I should have been taking a look at the monitor. So let me see where this happened. Bear with me. So before I was rudely stopped, thank goodness it wasn't the entire thing, I kind of took a review of where I lost you guys. So where I lost you guys was when I was explaining the purpose of the charter. And one of the things I said, seems like I've gone silent again, have I? Oh, I'm on, okay. One of the things that I said was, can you imagine a hiring manager, a business departmental manager, realizing that his people are going to be replaced by a system coming into the firm? They're going to be made obsolete. That's not very good, is it? Of course, you're not going to get buy-in from such a person. But getting buy-in from such a manager can be enhanced by using a project charter. I also made mention of the fact that on page 81 in the PMBOK guide, there is a list of things under page 81 in the assumption log that you need to be aware of. And the assumption log is another document that you could create in initiating. The assumption log contains assumptions, things considered to be true without proof, and constraints, things that could limit the project team's options. And having these documented helps guide you towards success on the project. You need to be constantly thinking about assumptions, checking assumptions. Is this still valid? Will that still happen? Will we still get this or not? And as you do that, you're always going to be kicking the tires, checking to make sure that your assumptions are still consistent, and any constraints, you've got a plan for how to manage those constraints. Because when you think about it, the project manager's role is managing the triple constraint: time, cost, scope, making sure that quality is satisfied, making sure that the risks are thought about. But traditionally, time, cost, and scope should be balanced. And that is what the project charter begins to help us do at a high level. And this process, Develop Project Charter, is really helping us do just that. So I hope you gained something from our discussion today. Again, I apologize for the audio problems. There's no telling when those raise their head. Hey, it's a live stream. It's a live stream. So this is live. This is not pre-recorded. And as a result of it being live, stuff happens. All right? So thank you very much. Don't forget, this is the channel where I answer your questions, where I help you get clarity on the mothership. So don't be a stranger. Ask questions, and I'll be happy to get back to you with answers. Thank you very much for joining me. I'll speak to you again in another episode of Project Management Night School. And for those of you who want to learn more about project management basics, go to the Praizion channel, the Praizion YouTube channel, and look for the videos. Okay, we've got videos there. We've got about 10 right now, and weekly and monthly I'm going to be updating it with these videos. You'll find these videos under the project management basics section, and majorly for people who want to kick the tires as they get ready for the exam, or those who are just keen on really learning what do project managers do, what are these documents used for, and how should I be thinking of using this in my project management. Thank you very much, and I will speak to you again in a future episode. Take care. Oh, and it's the weekend. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.